Hi, how are you? You have an ID?
Yeah.
You're under arrest for your cellphone.
No, I don't want to give it to you. Why do I have to?
Because my attorney said not to.
Why do I have to give it to you?
This is evidence.
Evidence.
Ma'am, she's under arrest.
I have to go with it. I have to go. I have to go.
You don't have no choice.
Let me help you out, sir.
No, I have to stay. Please don't do this.
Don't stay. You need to grab the bags. Take the bags.
Yeah.
And you need to wait outside.
Okay.
My husband's almost 80 years old. He can't
Yeah,
come
I
with
can't.
me.
Please, can I go?
No, you can't join me there.
Oh, don't do this, please.
Please.
Oh,
Someone's
God.
got to help him get home. This is terrible. You can't do this. This is
Go ahead, grab your hold on to that for me.
Is that okay with you?
Please. You know that with handcuffs on. She's not going anywhere. Please. Please.
You have anything in your pocket?
No, no.
Do you have anything of value in you?
No,
Plus you have a necklace on. You
Wanna go?
can take
My-
the necklace
I'll take it.
Yeah, take it off. Yeah.
and the earrings.
And the earrings, the
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record. Okay, how is everybody? Wanted to talk to you today about some exciting new documents that dropped in the Donna Adelson case. Boy, was it delicious. And this comes from Deep Dive True Crime Mentor Lawyer. The links are in the description of this video. If you want to look at his original videos, he's the one who paid for all this content. So thank you, Mentor Lawyer. And he lives locally, so he could get it right away. So in discovery, the prosecution handed over what they had from Donna's cell phones going back to 2000s. I believe it's all the way to 2000. Is it 14 or 16? Help me out here. I know there's at least one text message that goes back to 2016. Her text messages, her notes to herself, especially during Charlie Adelson's trial. And strangely, as much as there's some great text messages in here, some that we had heard on the jailhouse calls. Anybody remember her text message to Wendi? It's not about the case. There is no more case. Remember that one? That one's in discovery. And a lot of it is Donna's notes to herself before she fled to Vietnam, setting up a pattern that she was fleeing. Take care of this, take care of that. Her passports, working with the embassy, getting a visa, that kind of stuff. Not super interesting. I'm going to start out with her text messages, and then I'm going to go into, so she made, I think these were notes when she wanted to talk to, this is my take. I have no evidence of this. This was just my take on it, that she was sending these notes during Charlie Adelson's trial to herself for when she talked to Dan Rashbaum. We know that they talked a lot. Dan Rashbaum is now her lawyer. And so I'll present it like Donna Adelson's trial diary, just as a way to make it more understandable. But really, these were text messages that she sent to herself. But let's start out first, shall we, with her text messages. And these are not all of them, just a few of them. And then we'll get into her trial diary and maybe listen to a little jailhouse calls. Okay. Your brother protected you for years and now you're not guilty. So this is to Wendi. Your brother protected you for years. Now you're not guilty. Your lawyer took very good care of you. You can bury me in the dress you bought for Lincoln's bar mitzvah. If this is not the essence of Jewish guilt, I don't know what is. Your brother, and she'll go on to describe him as having a death sentence, which is so sensitive, because these are the people that gave Dan Markell a death sentence. Her son is still alive. Granted, he's in prison. He got a life sentence. Very different than a death sentence. But here she is really saying that your brother protected you. I mean, the way I interpret this is your brother protected you for years. He's in prison because of you. I wonder how she feels about Wendi now. They must all hate her. There was problems before this. We know she was very angry that Wendi never called, never asked how they were during the trial, which is super unbelievable and insensitive, but okay. Now you're not guilty. And I think this may be a reference to the text that she said, I'm not guilty. I always told the truth on the stand. You remember that one? That was read during her jailhouse calls. Your lawyers took very good care of you, meaning your brother wasn't smart enough to protect himself the way you do. Being a lawyer, you know not to make any incriminating text messages. You know not to only say things to Jeffrey Lacasse that he has to repeat back, but there's no evidence of it. She was very clever not to leave a lot of evidence besides driving by the crime scene, which was very impulsive. You can bury me, meaning I have no more reason to live. I'm just going to end it all. And just bury me in the dress. Bury me in the dress you got for Lincoln's bar mitzvah. That's what I want. It's my last request. Just a small request from your dear old Jewish mother. It's just, I always say my boyfriend's Irish Catholic, and I was raised Quaker, but come from 3/4 Jewish, but I always say we meet with our guilt, right? We understand each other with the guilt. And boy, is this some guilt. So I thought that was interesting, very revealing how they're all turning on Wendi. And I know that there's been some talk that Charlie might turn on Wendi. And I don't see that. I don't see that. I think they're all going to go to their grave saying that they didn't do this. First of all, there's nothing for the state to offer Charlie Adelson. So even if he came to them saying, I want to make a plea deal, and I would think that the only reason they would do this, if certainly the state is making their name on this case. One thing that Charlie Adelson says in his jailhouse calls that I agree with is that this was the biggest case ever to come down the pike in Tallahassee, possibly. And when they finally started charging the Adelsons and convicting them, starting with Charlie Adelson, it turned things around. It gave the DA's office some good PR finally, that they weren't just prosecuting the poor people, that they were prosecuting the rich, connected people. And there certainly is the public will to arrest and try Wendi Adelson. She has to know that. And Donna, of course, knew that because she got out of Dodge real quick. But I don't think that it would be publicly, it would benefit the DA's office to make any deal unless that they're in dire straits with the Castigar issues with Wendi. I can't imagine them offering him anything. And Charlie Adelson is so arrogant. And I know he always does what's best for himself, but I don't think there's much there to make a deal with. and turning on your own blood. Ugh, I don't know. I just don't see it. I know other people, I may be wrong. Just got off the phone with Charlie. Too many things to take care of. No time to talk. Besides, my daughter just texted me to not talk about the case. How about not calling us to see how we are after my son gets a death sentence? Gets a death sentence, guys. She got a death sentence. I thought that was super interesting. Of course, she didn't get a death sentence. Dan Markel, she gave Dan Markel a death sentence when it could have been worked out in totally different ways. It's just absurd, this message. But of course, she's going to play the martyr, the victim. Everything's terrible happening to her. And at one time, she said, "I think this to June Chinda. I think Dan Markel is haunting me from the grave," because her life has gotten progressively worse since then. And karma came for her. So, I'm not really buying that Charlie Adelson is gonna get some kind of deal or turn on Wendi Adelson. I think we're gonna find out some much more interesting things. I think it would be much more interesting if Robert Adelson, Honest Abe of the family, testifies. Hold on one second. Let me just put this on. I did this in kind of a funky way. Kitty's 1993 says, "What are your thoughts on Wendi and the Alford plea?" Oh, that's an interesting question. So the Alford plea is kind of a rare plea that's a guilty plea. It legally goes down as a guilty plea if Donna's convicted. And what is she going to plead to, though? That is an interesting question. Thanks, Roberta. Thanks, kitties. Well, I think I don't know. I can't see any of them coming for a plea deal. But maybe after Donna's convicted, it will scare her. I don't know. That would be really interesting. But if she took an Alford plea for what? But she can maintain her. So it's a guilty plea, but you can legally maintain your innocence. Very interesting. And usually it's done like it was done in the staircase in the West Memphis 3 case, when there's some kind of lot of press around a case and the state is at a disadvantage. It wasn't in the West Memphis 3. That was really done for political purposes. They thought it would help their careers if they freed the West Memphis 3, and it did nothing for any of them, really. So, that's a great question. Thanks, kitties. That gave me a lot to think about. I think I may have gotten frozen there for a second and thought, wow, that's something to think about and chew on. Thank you. I don't know. We understand how you feel. This is Donna to her friend Janice Cunningham. You feel and what you were saying. I just took my first shower since Monday. We are a mess, but when we speak to Charlie, we have to be strong. That cracked me up when I heard that. So we'll hear how she's strong for Charlie. It is extremely difficult. We will definitely see you at 10 on Saturday. Then we can talk. Totally understand about you not reaching out. We have other friends that are not able to at this time. I think I missed the 2 at this time. Yeah. So I thought it was very interesting that she didn't shower for a while. She was so depressed over Charlie. And that she is setting up. The reason that this is evidence against her is because it looks so bad for Donna that she's telling, this is a pattern over and over again. We'll talk to you in person. Don't text us. I have something important to text you about. I think that may be the next one coming up, but don't call us. So she's taking a page from Wendy's MO and learning not to make her own evidence against her. So she's starting to get more and more paranoid, living in a much more paranoid world. And again, don't call, don't text, can't tell you what it's about. We want you to look at something, can't, and this is when immediately after Charlie Adelson's conviction is when the plans went into motion to go to Vietnam. And as she's planning to go to Vietnam, she's texting Wendi and saying, bury me in a dress, really throwing on the guilt, full steam ahead. Let me just move this forward. Wow, I really put this one on maybe I thought I was going to be reading this for a while. Okay. So he says he can't say why, but we may need you guys to come over here, both of you. Wendi is not responding to us. We have an issue we cannot discuss over the phone. Exactly what I just said. She knows now to not make her own evidence against herself. I know this all sounds crazy, but I assure you it's not. I wish I could tell you more. Don't make plans until I contact you in a bit, and stand by. Don't call me. Right? Don't call me. Don't call me. So maybe she's thinking here that the phones are bugged. She only wanted to talk in person. So really crazy. And that's what I talked about, why she picked Dan Rashbaum. She had become in a world of total paranoia, and that she only really trusted Dan Rashbaum, someone who had been in the inner circle. So her life after Charlie Adelson got arrested became a world of insiders and outsiders, people she could trust and people she couldn't trust. And the list of people she couldn't trust was much, much bigger than who she could trust. I'm going to take a very, very quick break. When I come back from the break, we're going to go over Donna Adelson's trial, what I call her trial diary. These are really her notes to herself that she made during Charlie Adelson's trial. Don't go anywhere. See you in 36 seconds. If you are enjoying this episode of my True Crime Report, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode. Get access to exclusive podcasts and other bonus content by becoming a patron today. If you have a question or comment for me, shoot me a super chat and I'll do my best to answer it and read it on air. Thanks so much. Now back to the show. Okay. So I just pull these up. Starting with this one. So these were all comments she text messages she sent to herself. I organized them this way in a trial notebook. Dan said he was going to destroy. The picking, the jury was terrible. Didn't relate to Charlie, not a jury of his peers. Which is so hilarious, because I think really what she thinks a jury of your peers is if they had a bunch of Jewish periodontists who are all around Charlie Adelson's age. Those would be a jury of his peers, and anything else would not be a jury of his peers. Just means your fellow Americans. And they do try to pick a cross section. So this is even more interesting. So she's talking about my cousin Vinny, which I just seen for the first time, maybe 6 months to a year ago. And I thought it was really interesting because at first it seems like it's going to be like the small town is so unjust. They don't know what they're doing. And of course there is some comic mix up with the character's interrogation, but ultimately they acquit him. But crazy coincidence. Ask Charlie about the one tire spinning and one on the ground. The two guys fitting the same description. What are the chances? Identical cars. Witnesses identify them. So she's getting her inspiration, and I don't even know where she was going with this. I assume something with that Sigfredo and Luis were somehow wrongly identified. And it's just like my cousin Vinny. And, and could they maybe look at the tire tracks? Like she thinks she's Marissa Tomei and my cousin Vinny. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. It's so delicious. Everything that comes out of this case from Donna Adelson's mouth or thoughts are so off the wall and unexpected. Judges and the state pick them off. Character assassination. So this is again a problem with the jury. Lest we not forget that they had a $1 million jury consultant, the Innocence Project ambassador, Josh Dubin, come in and pick the most favorable jury for Charlie Adelson. Lest we forget that he had every advantage in voir dire, meaning when they picked the jury out of the jury pool, and they're still complaining, and Charlie's still complaining. He's like, I didn't have a chance, not a chance of having a fair trial in Tallahassee. Forget it. Jurors in the state picked them off. Character assassination. You said maybe the prosecution would dismiss the case if it was a normal case. You had overwhelming evidence. And I think here's what she means is the state had no credible evidence. Where is the overwhelming evidence? Where was it? Someone help me out with this overwhelming evidence. You may, maybe she's thinking Charlie Adelson and his defense had an answer for everything, but it wasn't a good answer. And he was convicted in less than 2.5 hours, including lunch. So what are we talking about here? It's so absurd. But this is just very much in the pattern of all her communications. Excuse me, I got a cough. Donna's been done wrong. Everything's unfair to them. And, she may have a point here. I hate to say I might agree with her a little bit in that this was a highly publicized case. And when Willie Megg said, we're going to stop at Katie McBanawa, and the Adelsons basically told everybody that the Adelsons, we're not going to go after them. The public was like, that's not acceptable. Sorry, no. And the police put out leaked out some evidence, really damning evidence. So I think the public pressure did have a lot to do with this. Maybe in another case, they could have made some deals, swept it under the rug, and ended with Katie, or not even prosecuted, ended with Katie, or given, offered deals maybe to the Adelsons, but not with the public eye all on the Adelson case. Forget it. No, it's not going to happen. So I hate to say I agree with her a little bit that this isn't a normal case. This is a highly publicized case. And the public will is not only to prosecute Charlie, but to prosecute Donna and Wendi. And with some people, my audience, even Harvey. But as you know, I don't feel like Harvey is ever going to be indicted for this crime, because if they wanted to indict him, they would have picked him up when he was fleeing to Vietnam. There was nothing stopping him from saying, bye, Donna, see, I'm going to save myself. You understand, honey, and getting on the plane to Vietnam. They didn't want him. Code words. She consulted you people. She changed the last name. So I assume that's about Wendi. And she's up in arms about the code words. There, all the Adelsons on the jailhouse calls says that TV was no code word. It's just a whole misunderstanding. I don't know what she consulted you people. Is that Wendi consulting the Markells? If you have a better idea, let me know in the comments. I'm confused by the consulted comment. Not all of these are explained. and they're definitely open for interpretation. Okay, so she's up in arms. Luis Rivera even said it could have been extortion. Remember that moment? I remember watching that moment in Charlie Adelson's trial. And he's like, no, yeah, I guess it could have been extorted when Dan Rashbaum got him to say that. But he's like, yeah, I got the money from the dentist. What do you want? Yeah, no. And he's like, no, yeah, that doesn't really even make any sense, Dan Rashbaum. He had one good moment there, and Donna Adelson is clinging on to the one moment that Luis Rivera got manipulated on the stand and cross into admitting that maybe it could have been extortion. Okay, so this is really interesting. Is this about Wendi or is this about Katie McBanoa? If she's involved and C's involved, home number rarely called. Now, is that talking about the home number that Sigfredo Garcia called Harvey Adelson's home number, and Charlie Adelson, they made an excuse for that, saying we had a big blowout. He was trying to reach Charlie, which I've never believed. I really think Sigfredo was trying to talk to Harvey. That's always been my take. And they made up that big story about the run-in with the jet skis to cover that up. But home number rarely called. Does she mean Katie never called Charlie's home number? I don't know. Let me know what you think. That's one open to interpretation. Saw the most graphic photos of their lives on a big screen. So she objected to Dan Markel's autopsy pictures. We didn't see them being shown. And this is something Charlie Adelson talked about in his jailhouse calls, that how could they? It's okay for us to murder him by hire, but how dare the prosecution show the autopsy photos and show our handiwork up on a big screen and evoke feeling from the jury. But when I was on a jury recently, a criminal trial, they really hammered home how we could not vote just because of sympathy. And I would assume that they hammered home the same thing in the good state of Florida. Hold on one second, guys. We're on the tail end here. Dan doesn't know how truthful the jury was. 5 people had law enforcement and 3 worked it as FSU. How did they get a jury of his peers' natural prejudice toward the defendant? Again, here she's obsessed with the jury again. Jury was unfair. Wendi made her way to civilization. This is something that bothered Charlie Adelson, that Georgia Kappelman said, and I believe, was it in her opening? I want to say opening. It may have been her closing. Help me out. That Tallahassee was a little place on the way to civilization. It's from her book, I believe. And Donna Adelson is offended by that. There's also a text from WhatsApp from Donna in 2016 where she says, I was in Vietnam in the Couture tunnels, and I went into the cave and saw a bat and came racing out of the tunnel. My son is braver than I am, meaning she had already been to Vietnam. There's these tunnels that are outside of Ho Chi Minh City, which is where they were going. There was also searches on Donna's devices, 5 different ways to Ho Chi Minh City from different airports, I think. And all her to-do lists, all her getting ready, telling people she needed water shoes for Charlie. She needed to move money and the name was blacked out. She had an eviction issue. And those are just some of the text messages. But really, really the kind of she's not a good criminal. That's what you get from this. She's not a good criminal. And she played her hand. She tried to not make evidence, but a lot of heavy nodding, heavy winking. You understand? Hey, Bard Bauman. Because liars and cheats know they aren't trustworthy, they project that all over everyone else, believing others are evil. Donna is scared. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all watched the trial. Does anybody remember all of the Charlie Adelson supporters during the trial saying, oh, he nailed it. Ha ha. He was great on direct. He was great on cross. He made the prosecution look silly. He had it because he did have an answer for everything. Just wasn't a good answer. And I thought it was better than I thought it would be, but I still knew it wasn't going to, I still didn't think it was good for him. I didn't think that they would convict in 2.5 hours with lunch. I didn't think it was that. I thought it was a bad defense. And I thought Georgia Kappelman, we went over her rebuttal, her closing and her rebuttal. Charlie Adelson seemed to know this, was brilliant. It was brilliant. She's like, sure, they have an answer. She's like, one of the things that criminals do is that they craft stories, start making up stories. And they have a reason for everything. But does it fit in with the totality of the evidence? No, it doesn't. Use your common sense. Don't leave your common sense at the door. Charlie Adelson got really offended because it was so folksy. But I thought we'd take a listen together because I just love that comment that they have to be strong for Charlie. Donna Adelson and Harvey Adelson right after he gets convicted. And this is right after she starts saving herself. So she's almost like, my son is dead. He's dead. He's given a death sentence. My son's been given a death sentence. I can only save myself. But to her daughter, she's like, just bury me. It's over. It's over. It's all over. There's no more need. I'm ending it all. There's no more need to go on. I have no will to go on. My children, my daughter Wendi doesn't talk to me. And my son Charlie's got a death sentence. There's no need. There's no need to go on. And Robert might as well be dead. I think the most interesting thing in Donna's trial, if we hear more about Robert, he may not take the stand. I hope he does. He's on the witness list. But I think he has a whole lot more to say than what we just heard from in the Over My Dead Body podcast. I just can't wait for Donna's trial. It's going to be delicious. Tomorrow, I will be over at the Society Pages hangout at 1:30. I'm also streaming. I believe I'm going to stream Karen Reed's hearing at 2, but I'll be hanging out starting at 1:30. Is it 1? Starting at 1 over at the Society Page with the great Katie Kool-Aid. They're doing a watch party over there. I'll be over there in the chat. Come say hello to me.
Let's call from an incarcerated individual at the Leon County Jail. This call is not private. It will be recorded and may be monitored. If you believe this should be a private call, please hang up and follow facility instructions to register this number as a private number. To accept charges and consent to this recorded call, press 1.
Thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
Charlie. Hey, Dad, how are you?
How are you?
Okay. I'm all right.
Where are you? Are you still in that cell?
Yeah, I'm still in.
Where are you? Where are you, Charlie? We're being strong. We're being strong. It's so over the top. We're being strong for you. I'm not saying that this wasn't a horrible situation, but I'm sorry. Naturally, my sympathy goes with the Markell family. But this is Donna's idea of being strong for Charlie and giving him hope. Absolutely. And I think there's even some calls where Charlie's like, my mother's a wreck. This is her idea of a stiff upper lip. That's what makes me laugh about it.
So the chief's going to see me at some point today, and whenever he comes through, and then supposedly Dan's going to come to the jail. And I asked them, they said, when your attorneys get here, they'll take you out to see them. I'm sure I'll see them behind glass.
So I thought I didn't know that Dan went. I didn't know if he went home or not yesterday.
Yeah, and Dan Rashbaum, I guess he was talking him up. Everything's going to be okay, and she was clinging on to that. And I think a lot of these notes that she sent to herself to talk to Dan Rashbaum about, that's my take on it. There's no proof. They were all sent to herself. We don't know why she sent them to herself. That's just my take. Were to talk to him, and he was really holding her up emotionally, Dan Rashbaum, through all of this. So she trusts him. She trusts him, even though her son got a death sentence. It's not Dan Rashbaum's fault. We heard her praise him to the skies, right? It's not his fault. It's just Tallahassee's fault. It's the terrible juries, the dumb jurors, the dumb people of Tallahassee couldn't understand what Donna Adelson calls overwhelming evidence of innocence, and that state she actually put in the great innocence fraud line. There was no evidence. Well, that was pretty interesting. 7 days of no evidence. It took a lot of time to present no evidence, didn't it? You can really get a much richer view of all these relationships through these new filings. So thanks to Deep Dive True Crime for getting them.
No, he's driving home today.
Okay. So they will let you see him today.
Yeah, but I mean, it's going to be behind glass. I'm going to be picking up a phone, talking to him through a sheet of glass.
So, did you get sleep last night?
Yeah, on and off. I mean, they got the lights on, but it's bright in here. It's like yeah. I just wanted to call and say hi. I guess I don't even know why.
No,
that's okay.
I'm glad you did it. I was actually just talking to Dan, so it's not like we were sleeping.
Yeah.
But
you were talking to Dad or Dan?
Dan.
It's cold.
Yeah, but gonna have to talk when we have a moment about things that we need to take care of. Okay?
Yeah, I know, the money and stuff like that. No, I got you.
Roman.
What?
This family is so money oriented. They can't wait a minute. Immediately what they think of is not his son, is money. It's not like we have to get right on top of stuff. We have to sort things out. Yeah, money. What does he need money for? And he's got all day to transfer paperwork to his son. If it's getting money to his son. I mean, I've always said that this case is so much about the people valuing the wrong things: money, status, greed, selfishness, and ultimately just a lack of maturity. A more mature person, and I think Jeffrey Lacasse says this in his police questioning, a more mature person would say, look, I'm stuck here in Tallahassee for a while till my son is 18. My youngest son is 18. Then I'm out of here. May not even be that long. I'm going to make the best of it. I'm going to be in Miami as much as I can. I'm lucky that I have the means to do that as much as I can. And I'll make my grandparents a part of their lives. But instead, they all decide to killing Dan Markel is the best option. that is what that I think what they told themselves is that the kids wouldn't remember their dad. They would get over it, that Wendi would meet a new man and marry, and that certainly hasn't happened. It's it's a really lack of maturity and lack of values. It's a family of psychopaths. You know, it's not a coincidence that I think it's the 50% of the people I've heard are psychopaths in prison. So they're, and I would think a good percentage of those are people who are doing time for these kind of crimes. Murder.
I have things I need to take care of for Roman and ways that we can take care of him and help him. So there's that, which is the most important. And then and figuring out about the dog. So gotta take care of things, Shirley. We gotta take care of things.
It's like I'm dead. I mean, I hate to tell you this. It ain't a whole lot different.
I mean, just the gall of these people. It's like I'm dead. No, it's not, Charlie. The dead don't talk. You can't visit them. You can't talk to them on the phone unlimitedly on your, this was the time where they were given, I think they still are now after the pandemic. I think they realized how well it worked. If I'm not mistaken, he's in one of the best county jails in the country, from what I can gather. The most resources, beekeeping, et cetera, and he's complaining that it's like he's dead after they callously took the life of Dan Markel and had no feelings, never cooperated with law enforcement. Wendi had one interview and they all lawyered up. I don't think any of them talked to the Markel family again, did they? I don't believe so. Never expressed their remorse. Just never thought in the planning stages how awful it would be for the Markel family and everyone who loved Dan Markel and all his students. Even if you thought he was a horrible, zealot, terrible guy. Did they really think they were doing good? I don't think they even thought that far. I think it was all about themselves and what they wanted. And so miss me with this I'm dead stuff. Callousness of it is off the charts.
Oh, fuck.
No, please, I know.
Oh, fuck. I listen to everybody.
You
got no idea.
No, I know.
You have no fucking idea. That's all I gotta say.
Charlie, I know. I know. I love you. I love you. Look, maybe something will happen. Maybe this mistrial will take place and get a different venue. Let's hope for that.
Let's just see. Okay.
Never. It was done by the letter. You tried for a mistrial. Ah. That was their first plan, a mistrial. I mean, I guess Harvey's actually much more together than Donna. Donna is a wreck, and she's the one saying we got to be strong for Charlie, and just can't. And it's interesting, the way Charlie breaks down is almost the way that like Wendi breaks down. That kind of like he miraculously can talk in full breath right after his short spell of crying. So I wonder if that's real. If it is real, it's remarkable. that he can talk with full breath, no problem, and express himself so well.
I know we got to talk about Roman and the dog and the house and everything. Like I'm young.
And you.
You.
It's you most of all. It's you.
Please.
Nothing.
It's not over.
No,
it's not over. Please.
Charlie, we'll try everything.
No, I got you. But just say,
What
I turn on
time
the
is he coming? Do you know what time he's coming?
I think he said if I don't.
Do you hear the subtext of this call, though? I mean, what I hear under this is, I can't believe my life is ruined because of my sister. I can't believe that we all did this, and Donna, the same thing. And the fact, she talks about, we can talk about that text she writes to Wendi, where she says, you never ask anything about your brother, but we just got off the phone with him, and the first thing he asked was how was Wendi holding up? I didn't have the heart to tell him you never called us or asked about him. I bet you got a lot to think about. And Wendi just writes back, I'm sorry. It's like my parents used to say, sorry isn't good enough. I mean, she didn't have to, I know she lawyered up. She didn't have to, they are her parents. She could ask how they are. I mean, it's not like she didn't have to go through lawyers to ask how she was, how they were. And even if she wanted to do that, that would probably be okay. But to never ask about your parents, they did all this. And this is the way Donna's golden years are going to be spent in prison. I believe she's going to get convicted, and I believe she's going to blame it on the same thing, that the Tallahassee jury couldn't be fair. It's Dan Rachbaum, even if she hired even a better lawyer. These people are not magicians. She has so many bad facts going against her, and circumstantial evidence is so strong, because it's a lot easier to talk away one big piece of evidence, physical evidence, than a lot of pieces, and DNA evidence is circumstantial evidence, than a lot of pieces of circumstantial evidence and a lot of people's testimony that all paints a picture of a family that wanted to protect Wendi, wanted to protect her law license, wanted to protect her career, wanted to make her happy by moving her to Miami, and to make Donna feel like she had total control over her grandchildren and her daughter, and something to do. She's a fix-it. She likes to, fix it and plan things and be in control and do things. And jail is going to be a rude awakening. Prison is going to be a rude awakening for her, because from my understanding, the Leon County Jail is about as nice a jail as you're going to get. Prison is quite different, and she's going away for the rest of what will be a life sentence. It's the way it goes for murder, which is murder by hire, same thing as murder. Just get a life sentence automatically in Florida. So I don't know if, I'm still thinking about that Alfred play. I don't know if, it depends how bad the Castigar issues are, if they can't get around them. But from what Patty's Playhouse said with her interview with the DA, her little chit chat on her way out of a event, Jack Campbell, he said, Georgia Kappelman's working on it one at a time. This is Georgia Kappelman's project. She knows this case inside and out, and she gets better and better each time she tries it.
I'll see him by 11. That means he couldn't get it to TV, so he's on the road. So I'm sure probably 9 or 10 is when he'll come by.
Okay. Well, I'll get back on the phone with him. You give me 15 minutes and call back. I'll have a better idea of what's going on. Okay?
Yeah, I'm going to be fine. I mean, listen, I don't want to say anything to Roman, because he's at a point now where he's asking for me every time I get on the phone with him.
I know. No, I'm not going to say anything to Roman. No, I'm just talking about what things we're going to do to take care of him.
Yeah. No, I
That's all.
got you. It's just I wanted to see my kid grow up. Oh, fuck. Oh. Oh.
Charlie, I still think there's hope. Please
Charlie.
just think there could be a chance here,
Please,
and we're going to work on it. Okay?
We'll work.
No, my God, you guys don't get too upset when you get yourself sick.
Charlie, we're fine.
We're okay. We'll
We're
be
going to see
okay.
what we can.
We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. And then in the other text messages, my son is dead. He's given a death sentence. It's like, we're fine. Don't worry about us. There's some hope out, but how? How is he gonna, I always thought that maybe Josh Dubin was brought aboard because he's so great at getting guilty people off with the help of the Innocence Project. But the Innocence Project, I don't know what the LA Innocence Project's working on Scott Peterson. So it's not, they seem to be going maybe in 10 years when the public has forgotten a little bit. Maybe they'll jump on board and try to get Charlie Adelson out. And you know what they'll say? He was convicted. He was convicted with a biased jury, with such terrible press. He couldn't get a fair trial, and there's no physical evidence against him. There was no DNA evidence against him. That's how they'll sell it. And the press might jump aboard. Whoever the next Erin Moriarty is, she's the go-to for these kind of things. Maybe she'll jump on board. I don't know. But he's already got the Josh Dubin connection. You would think that he would be able to afford some really good appellate lawyers. I just think that Georgia Kappelman did it by the letter. I don't think they're going to find too much, but okay.
As long as we can talk to you, please.
We're going to see when we can see you. Okay?
Please, yeah, we'll do everything we can. Everything.
Yeah, no, guys, I got you. I mean, I don't want to talk about the case on the phone at all. I'm just saying, one thing I don't want to do is talk about the case at all. And I don't want them to be too upset, because if I'm too upset, they're gonna keep me in this box.
Yeah, no, let's not do that. Let's not do that.
No, I'm not. But I'm just saying.
I'll call Dan back.
Yeah.
Call us in about 15
Give us
minutes.
15 minutes. Let me talk to Dan, okay, honey?
Yeah, talk to him for like 20 minutes. I'll call you back. I'm going to give Ray a call for a minute.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
So Dan Rashbaum is the one that can calm Donna down, the one can reach Donna, has a good relationship with Donna, can make her really talk it up and make it seem like they have a chance. The same thing he did to Charlie Adelson, telling him, this is from Charlie Adelson's mouth. He's not the most reliable narrator, but I bet it's true. I don't know. It feels true to me. Let me know if you think it's true that he said that he gave him a 90% on his time on the stand. And we're going to see a very different Donna Adelson tomorrow. Someone who's really adjusted to jail. Hopefully. It's not going to heckle her own lawyer this time. Hopefully. I don't know if I say hopefully. Maybe it would be more fun if she did. But I think with Rashbaum, she trusts him more and will take a backseat to him more. But she will be still making faces, I bet. And we're going to see more and more discovery as this case goes on. But very interesting drop. At the same time, they're telling Charlie Adelson, it's great. We're going to do all we can. Don't worry. We're going to be fighting for you. Fighting for him where? Yeah, Tater Bub Bug, the society page is streaming. I'll be over at his channel. He's going to be streaming the hearing. So with Katie Kool-Lady, the great Katie Kool-Lady. So I'll be over in the chat there. Come meet me in the chat over at the society page. Misha Janice, I've looked at every celebrated case that I've read the transcripts of every celebrated case that the Innocence Project and the wrongful conviction movement has put out, or close to every celebrated case for the past 6 years. And I've just find one guiltier person after the next. Our press jumps aboard. So that's been my experience from devoting my life to reading these transcripts and looking through the evidence of Innocence Project cases. I wouldn't support anyone that the Innocence Project puts out unless you read the transcripts yourself and not just the defense briefs. Yeah, so that's what I have to say today. Yeah, here, Murder by Maestro, thank you. The society page is a place to see Donna's conference tomorrow at 1. I'll be over there. Meet me over there. I think it's going to be pretty interesting. This case has been quiet for months and months and months. And it's starting to heat up as we go into getting closer and closer to September. Very curious to see what Donna's defense is going to be like. If I had to guess, it will be a Charlie Adelson extortion defense 2.0. It would be insane if she did a totally different defense, because Charlie Adelson already wrapped her into his defense saying, I only told my mom just to pay this extortion, and don't tell anybody. And I'd be curious if her age gets her more sympathy. Of course, the jurors are lectured not to vote with their sympathy, but sometimes it works. They don't want to put grandma in prison. When's the last time we saw a grandma on trial for murder? Let me, of this social status, of this class. Someone with, I think they had $8 million when Dan Markel was killed, the whole family. Murder for hire, or grandmother. Nothing's coming to mind now, but let me know if you can think of a family with this money that did a murder for hire like this. That's what I have to say for today. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share this episode, leave me a comment. I get a lot of thought-provoking stuff from your comments. And I'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. Have a great night, everybody.